will consider it a personal insult, an insult to my legacy, if this community lets down its guard and fails to activate itself in this election. My name may not be on the ballot, but our progress is on the ballot.
That was President Obama back in September, framing the election in stark personal terms. Well, that didn't work, and people voted for change. Now, President Obama faces a stinging reality. His legacy and his policies are on the verge of being dismantled limb by limb by President-elect Trump and a Republican-controlled Congress. Not only that, but the Democratic Party hasn't been this far out of power since the 1920s. Joining me now to discuss is co-host of The Five, Kimberly Guilfoyle, and former consultant to the Obama campaign and a principal of Clifton Consulting, Marjorie Clifton. So, Marjorie, I just want to start with you. It's clear that the Democrats and President Obama are in denial about what happened on November 8th. They're blaming fake news stories. They're blaming the Electoral College. They're saying it's globalization. Anything they can say to not face the reality of what happened. Are you accepting what happened in the election?
Well, of course I'm accepting what happened, and actually that's not what I'm hearing in terms of the narrative around where Democrats are, where Republicans are. I mean, interestingly, this election, I think, first of all, there's been a lot of change over the last 8 years in both parties. You've seen extreme wings of both Republican and Democratic parties elected into House and Senate seats. A lot of the moderates who had been there over, a lot of periods of time had left because they didn't like the divisiveness. They did not like the tension, frankly, that was existing and the lack of ability to do anything. So this will be a very interesting time to see, now that Republicans do have that kind of control and power, what they're able to get done and what kind of response the public gets. And yes, absolutely, there's Democrats that are upset and grieving and shocked, not sure what to do. But I think it is a healthy wake-up about what is happening and understanding really the roots of what people's pain points are, people's appetite, for the way politicians work. And I think the election became much less about party and more about business as usual and wanting something dramatically different and access to the political process. And whether we have that with Trump, we'll see.
Yeah, because I haven't seen a lot of healthy discussion and internalization from the Democrats about what happened in the election. I'm seeing a lot of finger pointing and a lot of
we need to
blaming this on racism. How have you seen the Democrats react? I haven't seen any ownership of what happened.
A lot of bedwetting, a lot of crying, a lot of, looking for excuses. And the problem is, it's like you nailed it. People don't get it. They did vote for change. They wanted real change versus the chump change that they've been getting for 8 years. And it's true. And you saw that in the evidence of the movement from Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
And you saw it in the movement with Donald Trump that swept the country. They need to not be colorblind. Look at the map and you'll see that it was across the country. It wasn't specific segments. This is not about racism. This is about wanting to drain the swamp and clear out the bureaucrats that have been taking the hard-earned money, the dollars and cents from families across the country that feel like they've been forgotten.
That's a good point. This was a pocketbook election, and I think the Democrats and Hillary Clinton and President Obama don't understand this was a rejection of the president's policies, of Obamacare, of the Iran deal, of having no wage growth over the last 8 years. And if the Democrats don't accept that it was a policy rejection, then they're going to be out in the wilderness for quite some time. Wouldn't you agree, Marjorie?
Well, I think you have to also look at the electoral numbers and in a lot of the states that were key areas, how much of a margin of a win there was. In some ways it was a mandate, and others there were not. And you also have to look that there's a lot of Republicans as well who are feeling somewhat disconnected from and not really sure where the party is going. So I don't think it's fair to sort of say it's black and white and everyone's either unhappy or, completely overjoyed.
Well, I think it's safe to say, Marjorie, that the Republican Party is pretty happy with the results of the election. But let me ask you guys a follow-up question. Kimberly,
yeah.
It seems just over the last couple weeks, we're still hearing about race baiting. We're still encouraging rioters. We are still trying to push grievance on black and Hispanic voters and women and try to scaremonger. I think the people that voted in the election were tired of this.
Yeah.
They were tired of the anger, the Black Lives Matter, the Occupy Wall Street, and all this drama, and they just want to get the country back to work.
Right. Well, these professional protesters and agitators and criminals that break the law and commit acts of violence are the same people that were doing Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, and now the Trump protesters, never my president, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wake up and be part of the solution. Stop what you're doing. Soros needs to cut off the allowance to these juvenile delinquents and knock it off and start moving forward about jobs, about education, about immigration reform, all the things that need to be done, and responsible health care that works, that's affordable for people. These are all things that he's going to do. He's promised that, and you can already tell by some of the picks and appointments as well the direction that it's going.
Marjorie, I'll give you the last word real quick. Are you guys going to continue with this crazy protest nonsense, or maybe try to negotiate with President Trump?
I think across the aisle there needs to be empathy to what people's pain points are right now, and we're seeing that in the different kinds of ways people are demonstrating things that they're voicing as concern. In the same way that people voted for Trump, we need to empathize with the economic pain points they're feeling. So everyone's reality is different. I think the only way we're all going to be successful is listening to what the upset is about and where it's coming from.
Like the protesters in Oregon, where 70% of them didn't even live there. Oh, and didn't vote. Oops, my bad. Didn't put that on the calendar.
That's just the kind of empathy I'm talking about.
Well, it's just a fact.
Feeling the pain. Let's get back to that. Guys, thank you very much. Up next, I visit Bernie Sanders at a book signing, and all hell breaks loose. And still to come, a very revealing and personal interview with Donald Trump.